Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner. Today, in this video, we will be playing our first game of EZD6 solo in a world of my own creation. Hello folks, welcome to my channel. This is Ask the Oracle episode 3. And before we begin, if you want to help support the channel, you can always become a member of the channel. We now have that open. Or check out my Patreon. There's only one tier on my Patreon. And if you're into crafting and scratch building, I have Scratch Builder Monthly on Wargames Vault, which is my own little magazine to describe all the projects that I do in the studio and how I use them in my games. Okay, there will be a lot of RPG projects coming up because I will be playing solo RPGs. So in this series, we begin with EZD6. I want to play some EZD6 solo, and I chose this RPG first because it's a very simple system, and it's a system by DM Scotty, and it is a system that Julie and I have played over the past few months. We've played it in our 2-player games, and we really enjoy it. Okay, so it's a very simple mechanic, and it's great for starting out, since this is really my first experience playing RPGs solo, and it's going to be my first experience. Well, not so much my first experience, because I have played with oracles in the past few weeks, but I'm still very new at it. I'm still learning how to interpret things with the oracles, and so we can kind of learn this together. Okay, if you haven't played RPG solo, or you haven't played with oracles before, this is a good chance to kind of learn together. So I'm still a newbie at a lot of these things. So that was my reasoning for choosing EZD6, and it's a fun game, it really is, and it's working very well solo. Okay, now I do have a patron-only video which was put up for patrons and members, and this is sort of my real first experience using EZD6 solo. So if you want to see that, you can check out our Patreon or membership. And that's it. Let's get on with the story that we have for today. So this is going to be a bit untraditional. I'm not going to go into the history of this kingdom that I created. I'm just that could happen during our oracle roles while we are role playing, either with an NPC or as the characters kind of role play with each other. If there's like campfire discussions, whatever. We'll learn more about the kingdom and its history while we play the game. That's really the way I like to kind of introduce all the concepts, so we can learn about the kingdom through the eyes of the characters. So I'm not going to give a whole bunch of history. We're just going to look at a little bit of basic geography before we begin. Let's go to the magnetic map and check out this hobgoblin kingdom that will be sort of the background for our characters. Okay, so this is the kingdom of Myrtilon, and this is a kingdom that is ruled by hobgoblins, and you have several species living under the hobgoblin rule, okay, including some humans. There are some humans on the western part of the kingdom that are allowed to live in the kingdom territory as long as they pay homage to the ruling hobgoblin family. Okay, so that's I thought it would be interesting to kind of experiment with that. Now there's also other goblinoid species living under kingdom rule, and many goblins, so population of goblins is high. Many of the towns are goblin, and we also have orcs, we have a few ogres, and we have bugbears. All of these creatures live under the influence of the hobgoblin rulers. And now let's quickly introduce our characters so that we can begin. And the first character is Raza. She's a little goblin delver who became an expert delver while working in the mines of southern Crobat. The Crobat Bluffs are that mountain chain that come down the middle of Myrtilon, and Volartosh, the capital of Myrtilon, is located here. You also have many goblin towns, mountainous towns in this region, and many of them are mining towns. It produces a lot of ore for Myrtilon, a lot of resources in these mountains. So she would scout for new tunnels, and using her danger sense, she would locate possible cave-ins in the mines. She would also locate layers of creatures that needed to be destroyed so the mining can continue. So that's Raza's background. That's what we know of her. And the next thing, and eventually she decides to leave the mines. We don't exactly know why at the moment, but she left the mines and took on a life of adventuring for some reason. And now Raza does, she doesn't tell her companion everything. There is something that she is keeping to herself, and we don't know what that is. We don't know if she's going to reveal that, and maybe the oracles, if we continue playing this game in the future, will reveal some more of Raza's background. Okay, and by the way, I have my little black book of RPG goodness. That's what I'm using to keep my thoughts focused and all that. So the other character is Varric, and he is a bugbear brute. He was a champion gladiator in the arenas of Volartosh. Hobgoblins, despite the reforms of the kingdom, the fact that they trade with other species and other kingdoms in the area, they still maintain a lot of their culture when it comes to war and fighting. There's still a lot of like honor seen in those things. So the arenas are a common thing, and they actually have a holiday where they will unite in some of these cities and watch these matches. Okay, now these matches are very dangerous. And while there are some rules to kind of make things fair, they're very dangerous. And individuals participating in these combat sports often end up either maimed or worse. Okay, so Varric was a champion of these arenas, and after a series of successes, after being a champion for a while, you may choose to leave the arena and kind of go your own way. And you are marked, you are tattooed by the leaders of the arena, and basically that identifies you, and it gives you some prestige as you travel. So Varric has used that now to his advantage, and he, again, for some reason, probably, perhaps he had a close encounter with death during one of the fights. We don't really know for sure, but he decides to go on his own, much like Raza. And the two met under very interesting circumstances, which, again, we won't go into the details in this video. But basically, what I do want to say, this is a concept that I took from one of the 3rd edition D&D modules that I converted to EZD6. It was called a Stormy Night. And there's basically this magical storms that happen, and there is a pattern to them. And it's not really known why it happens, but it's a very powerful and dangerous storm. So throughout the regions, not just in Myrtilon, but wherever this storm affects, you have a tradition called Storm Peace, which is a temporary truce between two strangers that may meet on the road or elsewhere, whether these strangers are enemy or not. And a Storm Peace is simply a truce that allows you to take shelter, sometimes together, in order to avoid the dangers of the storm. Now, the ley lines have something to do with where the storm goes and where it appears, but no one really knows why it happens. Okay, now there was a storm recently, a few months back, and that's how Raza and Varric met through the tradition of Storm Peace, and they just decided to travel together ever since then, and it's become pretty profitable. It's a relationship profitable for the moment, and Varric is a loyal individual and does feel some loyalty towards Raza, and vice versa. Okay, so we'll see where that goes, but right now Varric is a very important addition to Raza's companionship, because of course he is a brute. He brings a lot of muscle, and Raza is, you know, a goblin. She has a boon with ranged and melee, so she's not a bad fighter herself, but you know, a companion like Varric does increase your chances of survival in this crazy fantasy world of ours. So all right, so that's it. Now let's move on to what's happening. Raza and Varric were recently staying in the underground town of Crimson Spill. There they were hired by a merchant named Ragsnick, and Ragsnick owns a merchant cart, and he hired them as caravan guard. And basically, they are now traveling from Crimson Spill to Grimerest on the Grime Road. And Grimerest is a smaller forest town near the Crobat foothills. On either side of the road is the Blackthorn Forest, and so that's that is where our heroes are located now. They're about a day away from Grimerest, and they travel at night. It is early evening, and the cart is being pulled by two reptilian beasts, and as it moves through this kind of rough road, the Grime Road, on its way to Grimerest, suddenly it is intercepted by three orcish individuals, and it is clear by the weapons that they are flashing that they are not friendly. And these orc raiders, one of them has a bow. He fires his arrow and he hits Ragsnick, the merchant, who then falls off the cart, wounded. Now, we don't know if he's dead yet, but he's definitely wounded. And Raza has to take the reins of the cart, and the cart comes to a stop right in front of these orc raiders. The term for heroes in EZD6 is brazen, and Varric and Raza are both brazen, so it's going to be their turn to attack. The orcs have already taken their move by coming out of the forest and firing on the merchant, who now lies on the floor, Ragsnick, and now it is Raza and Varric's turn to react. So Raza immediately uses her free action, pulls out her bow, and now she gets a move and a standard action. She's not going to move. She's going to stay in the cart, the relative protection of the cart, and she fires her bow on the archer orc over there that she can see. So she has a boon to range attacks. She can use 2 dice and take the highest number. She needs 3s to hit. So let's see. Raza, she's going to now roll. And she rolled a 5 and a 3. 2 hits. Okay. So she fires her arrows. 2 hits go to the archer. The archer only has 2 strikes. So the orc archer is instantly taken down. Her arrow strikes him right in the forehead, and he falls limp. We were going to give you the mercy of killing you quickly, goblin. Now, we will kill you slowly. Meanwhile, Varric pulls out his great mace and shield. We will see who does the killing, orc rat. Now it's Varric's turn, and Varric is going to leap off the cart like a bloodthirsty maniac, and he roars, and charges towards the closest orc, which is going to be the one with the battle axe, the bigger one. He is apparently the leader, and Varric confronts this orc. There he is, and they're both roaring at each other, and Varric swings that great mace of his. Let us see, and I have my little cards here. In addition to my character sheet, they help to keep the stats organized. So Varric has a boon to melee. He also has a short sword, which he's not using. He has the heavy mace. Okay, and tough bastard. Okay, so just reminding myself of a few stats. He's going to pick up 2 dice and roll with a boon. So rolling with a boon to melee with that great mace of his, Varric swings the mace. Oh, 2 5s. Okay, that is 2 hit. He swings that mace. The orc doesn't have any armor, so Varric's mace holds true and impacts the orc leader in the chest, going through his defenses. He's pushed back a little bit by the impact, and he feels a sharp pain shoot through his body as warm wetness fills beneath his armor. Now we move on to the other orc raider, and he sees what's happening here with Varric, but he also sees Raza with that bow. He has just learned how good Raza is with that bow, so he's going to rush over to Raza. Okay, we're going to say that's possible. He's going to take a jab. And because Raza is up on the cart and she can try to avoid that, I'm going to give him a Bane in combat just because of that. Normally, he has a boon to melee, but I'm going to take that away. And because it's an awkward kind of position, he's going to be jabbing upwards. We'll give him a Bane. So now he hits the player on 4+. Let's see. Difficult angle. He gets a Bane. The orc swings. Oh, and he has a failure. And 2 failures, actually. So he jabs with his scimitar. The orc jabs upward his scimitar, trying to get Raza's legs, but she hopscotches out of the way, and she's fine. And now she is going to get a turn. She's going to aim her bow right where he is and fire. So Raza rolls. She knocks another arrow and fires. She rolls a 6, a crit, and a 4. Okay, so now that's 2 hits. Now we re-roll that. Let's confirm the crit, and that's a 5. That is 3 hits altogether, and the orc only has 2 hits. They have no saving throws, no armor. Raza hopscotches out of the way of that sharp scimitar. She has her bow. She knocks another arrow and lets loose. Hits the orc right between the eyes. A second shot. The orc falls limp, dropping the scimitar, falls limp on the ground, blood spilling out of his pierced skull. This orc falls limp, and now she has a free action, which we'll say for knocking the arrow. She did move, and she used her standard action. So, okay, now we go to Varric. Now, Varric is going to take a shot, and then we're going to consult the Oracle because 2 guys are down. And what is the likelihood that this guy is really going to continue fighting? Okay, but first, let's do Varric's move. Okay, so let's roll. Come on. He needs 3s. Oh, and he rolls a 2 and a 1. That is a complete failure. Varric swings that heavy mace, but the orc is quicker, and he can feel the mace coming centimeters from his head as Varric swings with a powerful swing. Now, here we're going to consult the Oracle. All right. So I'm going to say this is very unlikely. We're going to roll 1d6 minus 2. He rolls a 1, which gives us no and. Okay. That is a negative number, actually. So this is like hell no. So, yes, this orc retreats. And not only that, but he runs away into the woods as quickly as possible. And that is the end. Raza puts her bow away, leaps off the cart, and rushes over to the merchant, but unfortunately Ragsnick is dead. He has the orc arrow sticking out of his chest, all bloodied, and he is dead. Now, that is unfortunate. So now Varric can search the orc bodies, and we're going to see what they find. So first things first, I'm going to roll on the EZD6 searching probability, and according to my notes, probably not is a 2d6. I need a 6. I can use karma on this. So I'm going to roll a 2d6 first, see if I find something, then we identify that's something. So these guys were probably not carrying something, but maybe he is. All right. I roll, oh, what a yes and a no, an extreme yes and no. We are going to say that, yes, there is a trinket, thanks to that 6, and that's going to cancel that 1. And now, let's roll a d6 on the trinket table. Another 6, a bracelet of grappling. Ooh. Ooh, all right. So this guy maybe didn't know how to use that. But that's good. So we're going to take that. He also has a scimitar, which I can take 1. This one doesn't have any probability roll. This is the one with the scimitar, actually. So 1 potion of healing. So Raza, I'll give that to Raza. Raza is the closest one with the orc that had the scimitar. So after she checked on Ragsnick, who is lying there dead, she searches this guy and finds a potion of healing, which she takes. Now, the archer has a longbow. He has a longbow and a dagger. I don't really have much use for the longbow. We're going to leave the longbow. He has the bracelet trinket, which our bugbear friend is going to take, and probably take the dagger, too. So we have a dilemma. There is a dead merchant now. And Ragsnick was part of an organization here in Murtalan called the Kur of Ash. And the Kur of Ash in the Hobgoblin language means merchant lords. And any attack on a merchant lord, on a Kur of Ash, is an attack on the king or queen themselves. So this kind of thing is very serious. So what do we do? All right, there's a few options here. Do they bury the merchant and simply take the cart? You know, but where would they have acquired this cart? But so we could take the cart, bury the merchant, leave the orcs, you know, and just take the cart. Or, but that takes time, you know, to bury the guy and then just, it's going to take time. They want to get out of this forest, this road, and get out of the Grime Road and get to Grime Rest already. It's still about a day away. The other thing they can do is just leave the cart, right? Leave the cart and kind of rummage through it a little bit, and then take what's necessary. I mean, Ragsnick is not going to use this stuff anymore. So they can simply take some stuff, leave everything as is. Anyone that finds the cart or the dead merchant is also going to see the dead bodies of the orcs, and oh, this was an orc raid, which is what it was, you know, and leave it at that. No one knows if this merchant, maybe this merchant was foolish enough to travel alone. He wasn't, but he was foolish enough to travel alone, and some orc raiders got him, and there you go, right? The other thing is that the other orc has escaped, and we don't know if there's a camp nearby. Okay, we could consult the oracle and see what is the likelihood that these trio of orc raiders have a camp nearby with other raiders. So we don't know, and if that's the case, he's going to come back with more individuals. And so again, we want to get out of here as quickly as possible. I'm just going to give it a 50-50 probability on my fate roll, my fate oracle. So no modifier, just a roll and see what the oracle says. There is a 4. Yes, There is a camp, but that camp is not nearby. Okay, so it's going to take a while for these individuals probably went a little farther than normal from their camp, and they thought this cart would be easy pickings. So the camp, it will take them a while to get here once this individual makes it there, and so we have plenty of time to escape. So scene 1 is now over. Varric gets 2 karma, so he has a total of 5 now, so that's great. He has 5 karma. Raza has 3 karma. Okay, and I'm giving karma to myself every time I do a failed roll. You usually get only 1 karma, but Varric has a special ability that gives him 2. I'm not doing karma for role-playing because that's very subjective. Usually the rabble rouser will give you karma for role-playing if you do good role-playing. However, if I use a trinket of mine and maybe role-play a little bit in a camp while talking to Varric, I may award myself a karma for that. Now that we got that out of the way, we can start the next scene. And the next scene is the town of Grimerest. So before we continue with the town of Grimerest, let me check the Fate Oracle. It is unlikely that they know information. Whatever they know may come from rumors, or maybe they've heard of the town before, but really they're not going to know very much about this town. Okay, just that it exists, basically. So I'm going to give it an unlikely. I'll give it a -1 and see on the Oracle. So a 3 minus 1 is a 2. And no, they don't know anything about this town. Okay, they know it exists. They may have heard of it before, but they really don't know much about this town. Don't know anything other than that. So this is going to be a new experience for them. So Varric and Raza both arrive in the town of Grimerest and are immediately greeted with an atmosphere of tension. And here is the guard that is coming up to them, the goblin guard. He's one of the town's guard. We have Varric and Raza right at the gates with the 2 mounts. We have a number of the rabble, and the rabble is just a term that I'm using. It is a term that describes the civilians of Myrtilon, particularly goblins. It is a goblin term, and it is used throughout the kingdom to describe the populace. So here we have a number of these little round markers are civilians, townsfolk, goblin townsfolk. Now, the next circle, we see a few armed individuals, and this is a mixture of orcs. It appears to be a couple of orcs, a hobgoblin. There's also some goblins in the mix. And these are actual other brazen. These are apparently other adventurers or brazen. They don't seem to be town's guard, and they are attentively listening and occasionally going up to this larger individual who's a bugbear. But he's, we're going to, I don't have a bugbear with robes, so we're going to say that this is a bugbear. He's wearing some robes, and he has a charcoal that he's using to kind of write on this parchment, scribble on this parchment. And next to him is another goblin, a robed goblin, that is kind of passing things to the individuals that come forward. So something is going on here. Raza and Varric don't quite know yet what's going on. It's a little confusing, but there is tension. So the first thing that the goblin says, "Halt!" The goblin town's guard says, "What's your business here? Are you brazen? Are you registering? Are you registering?" And Raza and Varric kind of look at each other with a confused look. Registering for what? Varric replies. For killing the spiders, of course. And again, a couple of confused looks between Varric and Raza.
We come from Crimson Spill. 4 days on the road. We just want some foods and some rest,
Raza says. Town's closed. If you're not a brazen looking to register, you must leave, the town's guard says. Town's closed, you say? Varric replies, again with a confused tone. Yes. If you're not brazen looking to register, shove off. Leave. This is important town business. Big spiders. Big spiders. The town's guard replies excitedly. So, now Varric and Raza have a decision to make. This is the town they were coming into, and they weren't expecting this gathering, this whole thing going on. And so, yeah, they have to make a decision as to whether they leave or they stay. Now, the most important thing is to find out, well, what do we get in return? So Varric and Raza are out to make some coin. They are adventurers. And, of course, they were hired by Ragsnick to serve as his caravan guard. Didn't serve him very well. But the first thing is they would want to know, well, what kind of reward? And giant spiders? Close an entire town for a giant spider? Of course, he did say giant spiders, which gives the impression that there's a lot of these things. So obviously, it's enough that the town is closed. The other thing is, in this brief interchange between the town's guard and our heroes, there is mention of the war chief, who's the one with the charcoal. He's taking names and registering adventurers, or brazen, as is the word in EZD6, and registering them to take care of these spiders. This is becoming evident now, now that Raza and Varric are looking into the crowd. Now they understand kind of what's going on. So this bugbear individual with the robes seems to be a war chief. Okay, so that's it. And guys, I hate to do this to you, but this is going to be the cliffhanger. We're going to stop here, scene 2. In the next scene, we're going to continue scene 2, do a little role-playing in the town, and then we will see if Varric and Raza actually accept this mission. It's going to depend on the reward and whether or not they're going to do some pest control here in the town of Grimerest. I hope you enjoyed this, and really, if you want to help support the channel, do consider all the options I mentioned in the beginning. Do the little YouTube-y things, if you know, whatever, however you want to support. And thank you again. And this series, Ask the Oracle, will continue, and we'll continue exploring other games too. These are usually one-shot adventures, okay? But if people really like what's going on and you like this little presentation, then do leave it in the comments and I will continue. You know, we can continue with EZD6 in the future and come back to these characters and see where they go and explore more of this Hobgoblin Kingdom. Julie and I will continue to explore this. We've already played this in 2-player mode. So, but let me know, you know. And, all right, so that is Ask the Oracle. This is part 1 of Pest Control, and we will continue with Scene 2 in the next video. Have a great one, folks, and thank you very much for watching. We'll talk soon.